Now, as far as block settings are concerned, you know, I don't overthink it too much. I go with the typical 2 feet to the first block, 3 feet to the second block. So because the blocks are going to be different wherever you race, you don't want to measure from here, because if you have these blocks over here, which are shorter, or some that are way longer, have different increments of settings, that's going to mess you up. So regardless of which blocks I'm using, I measure feet to the first pedal and feet to the second pedal. So 2 feet here, 3 feet here. Now you can add an inch, so you could go 1 foot, 2 foot, and then have an extra inch. You could go 1 foot, and then on the second foot have your toes up here. That's going to depend on your proportions, your torso length, your leg length, you know, torso relative to leg length. If you have a short torso and long legs, you're probably going to have a different setup than someone who has, you know, the opposite type of situation. But you want to be comfortable, you know, because if you're not comfortable, if you're unbalanced, it's going to be hard to produce force. Just like when we're lifting, the more stable you are, the more force you can produce. Well, the same thing goes for the blocks. If you feel like you're wobbling, you don't have good grip, you're not going to be able to start very well, versus if you feel really planted, you can explode out from there and feel good. That's why I have 90 pounds sitting on the back, because when I push against these blocks, they slide. I need better spikes, I need more spikes, I need longer spikes. But no matter what, my blocks tend to slide. So I put some weight back there so I can be confident that when I'm pushing into these, I have something that's solid to push against. The other thing is, with your front foot, I would suggest having your front spikes on the ground, because in line with the thought of having a stable platform to push off of, the ground is not going to move. The blocks might. So if we put our toe on the ground and we have some spikes in the ground and then the rest of our foot on the block, even if the blocks slip, we have some grip. We're also able to push off of the most stable thing that there is, which is the earth, and that's going to help us, like I said, be able to produce a good amount of force. You also want to have good pressure into this back block, because if you're only pushing off one leg, then you're leaving half of the equation out of it. Versus if you can push off both legs, you're going to have a more forceful start. You're going to get into that next step sooner, and you'll be better off. So if this block is too far back, it's going to take too long to bring that leg through, and you're going to be projecting for too long. It's going to mess you up. If it's too close, you're going to feel imbalanced or unbalanced, kind of wobbly, and you're going to struggle there. So you want to find a middle ground with this back block. To demonstrate the angles, my knee can brush against my arm. As I stand up into set, about a 90-degree angle here, and then about a 120 angle on the back, maybe 110. Now once I'm in the blocks, some of the things I'm thinking about, depending on what rep it is, depending on how the film looked, it could be simply to just, boom, drive that knee off and try to flex the hip as quickly as I can, so I'm getting that leg to the front side, can strike sooner. Other times, as I'm pushing off, I might be working on throwing my front arm, because if I throw my front arm, that helps bring this leg through. So if you try to pop your thigh forward, pop the knee forward, and it feels uncomfortable or feels slow, then with your lead arm, which will be the same leg that's in front, with that arm, you want to, boom, throw it up. You don't want to go really long, okay? This is fine. You can get longer on the backside, but I think that tends to lead to over pushing, so I tend to avoid that. I like to go, boom, throw that arm forward, arms forward, arms forward. So that's going to help bring the legs forward. So as you're pushing back, if you're throwing the arm forward, it's going to make it easier to transition from pushing to flexing the hip and driving the knee forward. Sometimes people with their blocks, they like to get their foot up here, but personally I find that that's pretty uncomfortable. Some people can do it, but for me, I feel like I'm going to fall out of my blocks, so I don't do that. I like to do whatever is most stable and most comfortable. So for me, that's going to be my front foot, spikes on the ground. Back foot, you can have the spikes on the ground or right in the corner. And for me, this is the most comfortable. So from here, rise into set, and then boom, pop out. Now, once you get some block settings that you think you like, do some 5 or 10 meter starts where you're working on the first few steps to the first 7 steps and see how it feels. Do you feel like you're crashing each step? Do you feel like you're taking too much time in the air, like you're just bounding? You know, these are things to pay attention to. If you feel like you're stumbling, then you might be firing out lower than what your strength and power can handle. If you find that you're launching out and just floating, then you're firing out too high. And you can look at your shin angles in the set position and see, are they too low? Are they too high? Is your knee bend in the front leg too much? Doesn't allow you to start powerfully. You know, if you're in a really deep knee bend, but you suck at deep squats, probably not a good position to be in. If you're the king of quarter squats, maybe you want that front leg angle to be a little bit more open. Whereas if you are strong from 90 degrees or a deep squat, maybe you can go from a lower angle. So how low you push out, how low you project is going to be somewhat, limited by your strength and power output capabilities. So you can't simply just go lower just by trying to go lower. Typically, you have to get stronger before you're able to do that. The other thing I would look at, if you can, is to time your 10, your 20, and your 30. And you want to see that you're continuously accelerating through each of those zones. If you get through 10 meters and then you flatline, you've either used too much energy in the first 10, and so you have some inefficiencies going on. Maybe you're not rising throughout the whole acceleration. Maybe you're just getting stuck. Maybe your rhythm is not progressing and you're not getting to a higher frequency as you go. So you want to make sure that your frequency is increasing, your postural angle is rising into upright, and by about 25 meters, you should be upright. Very rarely does any elite sprinter run through 30 meters bent over looking at the ground. It just simply doesn't really happen. You might be able to find a couple examples, but across the board, if you watch elite sprinters, they're pretty much upright by 25, 30 meters. So if you're not upright by then, you might want to question why you're doing that and if you're benefiting from that. Overall, though, you don't want to overthink your blocks. Get a comfortable setting, do some starts, see if it looks good, see if you're able to get up into upright sprinting effectively, and you're able to go, 30 meters, rise, have your frequency rise, your posture rise. If you can do that, don't overthink it. Just keep training, keep putting in that work, and you'll improve. If you overthink it, you try to get the exact perfect setting every time, and you're like neurotic about it, you're probably not going to be able to improve because you're going to be so caught up in having the perfect start that you forget that the start is only the start. That's only like 5% of the race. We still have to accelerate to top speed, maintain top speed, and minimize deceleration, all while managing our posture, cycling our legs fluidly, all that stuff. So don't get caught up thinking that the blocks are everything. The blocks are important. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to start in last place. But, when I got 3rd place in the Western Athletic Conference Championships back in, I think, 2014 or 2015. 2014. I came out of the blocks in last place, ended up in 3rd. Now, did I win? No. But did I get last place? No. So, had I had a better block start, I probably could have been close to winning, but I didn't, and that's just how it was. But because my speed endurance was on point, I was able to get up to top speed and maintain better than most everybody else and end up in 3rd place. So, like I said, don't feel like you gotta, overanalyze it or be, I gotta have the perfect start or else everything's gonna be a failure. That's just not how it works. There's been many guys who have come out not in 1st place out of the blocks and won the race. There's a lot of people who have been first to 30 meters and lost the race. Su Bing Chen, he comes out almost every race in front of everybody, but he doesn't win every 100 meters because what gets you to 30 as fast as possible might not be what gets you to the 100 as fast as possible. So keep that in mind, and always try to have some fun when you're doing block starts, because there's plenty of people out there who can't do them. Physically, they can't do them. Maybe their job doesn't allow them to train. So if you're even able to do this, you're blessed in some way. So have some appreciation for that. Don't overthink it. Have some fun. And ultimately, if you do that, I think you'll improve over time. If you're all heavy, worried, stressed, then I don't think you're going to improve as well. If you're light mentally, you're going to be light physically, and you're going to be able to have fun when you sprint and sprint fast. If you're all heavy mentally, taking yourself down, that's going to turn into almost a physical weight when you run down the track because you're so stressed. It's not going to allow you to run fast, and that's no fun. So have some fun.